purpose, beautiful people. I hope everybody is well and blessed. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026. I can't think of a more perfect way to start this new season than with this soothing session that I have in store for you today. Because this year is not about rushing, proving, or performing. It's all about alignment. This is our first session of the new year, and we are grounding ourselves in the clarity of purpose, walking in alignment, intention, and truth as we step into what God already has prepared for us. Wherever you are in this moment, I invite you to arrive fully, releasing the weight of last year, releasing expectations, and allow yourself to begin again, softly, intentionally, and with faith. If you're able, set the mood, light your favorite candle, grab your favorite drink. As always, I'm drinking water from my Sensual Soothers affirmations mug, where we have affirmations on the back of self-love, manifestation, and tranquility. Grab your journal and settle into your space. Let this moment mark a reset, a realignment, and a recommitment to purpose in this new year. And as always, we will start our session with an intention and we'll close with an affirmation. So that way your heart and soul are open to receive any and everything that God has for you in this moment. Today's intention is all about clarity. Clarity without pressure, clarity without comparison, clarity without fear. We release the need to have everything figured out all at once and open ourselves to divine guidance, trusting that purpose unfolds in seasons, not all at once. So take a deep breath in, exhale gently. All right, let's begin. Understanding purpose. Purpose is often misunderstood. We're taught that purpose is one big thing, a title, a career, a role, or a huge achievement. But purpose is much deeper than what we do. Purpose is alignment. It's the connection between your soul, your values, and God's direction for your life. Purpose is not something you chase, it's something you uncover. And often it starts as a quiet pull before it becomes a clear path. And also to recognize that purpose is not what you do, but it's who you are becoming. In my book, Journey to Inner Peace and Purpose, Chapter 7, we discuss the clarity of purpose. Living with purpose brings clarity and fulfillment to life. Understanding purpose. Living with purpose means having a clear understanding of what gives your life meaning and direction. Purpose is the guiding force that shapes your actions, decisions, and goals. It is the inner compass that aligns your life with your deepest values and passions. Purpose is not necessarily about finding a single grand mission. It can be found in everyday actions and choices that reflect what matters most to you. Living with purpose involves recognizing your unique gifts and contributions and using them to make a positive impact on the world around you. Discovering your purpose begins within. It starts with self-reflection, asking yourself honest questions. What brings me peace? What steers my spirit? What feels natural, even if it's scary? Your passions and interests aren't random. Things that you are drawn to are clues. It's your intuition, your inner knowing. It's often God gently guiding you and nudging you towards what is meant for your life. But you can't hear direction if you're constantly surrounded by noise. Finding purpose requires stillness, space, listening, aligning your life with purpose. Once you begin to recognize your purpose, alignment is essential. Alignment looks like setting goals that reflect the person that you're becoming, not what the world wants you to be. It looks like living intentionally, choosing actions that honor your values and your peace. Mindfulness helps us stay aligned. When you're present, you can feel when something is off. And when you're aligned, things may not be perfect, but it feels purposeful. Finding purpose in pain. One of the hardest lessons I've learned is that purpose can be revealed through pain. I found purpose through pain, through depression, through uncertainty, through trials and tribulations. In previous sessions, I spoke on going through trauma, which led me to where I am today. So God has laid this on my heart to speak about it publicly because my story will help heal and inspire and encourage the next person that's going through the same thing. And I spoke to my husband, I got his blessing on it. So here it is. My husband and I have gone through a long journey to parenthood. And we've been trying to conceive for several years. I'm not going to get into too much detail on this session, but in the next session, I'll dive deeper. But we were trying for a couple of years, so to the point where we ended up having to do IVF. And I'm speaking of this because if it wasn't for my IVF journey, I would not be here today. And also, a lot of women are coming forth speaking of their journey, and it's really helpful to hear that you're not the only one going through this. It's actually quite common, couples having difficulty time conceiving, even though it looks like everybody's pregnant. It's a lot of us who are struggling to get pregnant. During my IVF journey, it was one of the darkest, if not the darkest time of my life. My husband and I, we did 2 IVF cycles, and this is within the last 2 years. The first cycle, we got pregnant, and it ended up being a chemical pregnancy, which basically it just dissolves. The second time, we ended up having a failed transfer. But I do believe during that waiting time, I did get pregnant because I had the same symptoms I had the first time. But by the time we got to the end of the waiting period, the pregnancy test was negative. And this was extremely difficult to go through because I have always desired to be a mother. My husband wants to be a father. This is something that we both wanted, we both planned for, and to not have something that you desire for yourself, it's extremely heartbreaking. After the last cycle failed, I was just in complete shambles. I was questioning God, I was questioning myself because children are a blessing. And I could not figure out why my husband and I wasn't worthy of that blessing to have a child, because in my mind we did everything the right way. We were friends first, we dated, we was engaged for 3 years, we got married on our 5-year anniversary, we waited 2 years and enjoyed marriage before we started. And it's like we have good jobs, it's like we did everything right, so why are we being denied parenthood? And it was crushing, and it was like, dang, God, did I do something? Did I do something in my past life? Did my husband do something? Like, why would you deny us this, especially when we have the means to support and care for a child? You have people out here getting pregnant left and right who are not married, who, I don't want to like talk about nobody's
talk about nobody, but they didn't do things according to the covenant of God. People out here getting married, people out here having kids who don't even want children. You know, and it was just so many questions, and it's just I did not understand. Didn't understand why my prayers weren't being answered. I didn't understand why motherhood was not unfolding in the way that I imagined. I've always wanted to be a mom, and I just couldn't understand that being taken away from me, or not even taken away, that not being a blessing that God granted me and granted my husband. So during this time of depression, because once I got the news of the failed transfer, which is so crazy because that day, that day, I actually dropped my husband off at the airport. He was going home to visit his parents because he had wrapped on set. And I dropped him off, and then I went to the IVF doctor, to the fertility clinic to go take my pregnancy test. And I remember there, they give you you do the urine test, but then they give you like a quick test to see. And I remember like nothing was coming up. But I'm like, no, I know what I felt. Like I felt that thing implant. Like I know it's there. Okay, we'll just wait it out. So all day I'm just waiting. They say you'll get a call by the end of the day. I'm waiting. It's 4 o'clock my time. My husband calls and says he landed. He was like, wait a minute, have they called you yet? I'm like, nah, man. I'm like, they about to close. I'm like, this like deja vu of when the first cycle happened. Um, because we had to keep going back. The first time we had to keep going back to do blood work because it showed that I was pregnant, but my levels were low. So the second time I had to go back for blood work, um, the levels continued to drop. And then at the end of the day, they called us to tell us it's going to be a chemical pregnancy. So this time around, I'm like, man, here we go again. It's the end of the day. I did that thing at 11 o'clock this morning. Like, why they haven't called us yet? And he was like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Like, we got it. And then they called. I was like, okay, I'll call you back on the phone. And when I answered, the way she said my name, I just knew that it didn't take. And it didn't. And so I called my husband back and told him the news. And we were both crushed and just crying and questioning, and just, it was all bad. And then we hung up the phone. I'm like, just go be with your mom, go be with our nieces and nephews, and, just handle that. And he was good. And the crazy thing is, he was gone for 2 weeks. So for those 2 weeks, I had to sit by myself in that. And it was so hard. I just went into a state of isolation. I didn't get out the bed. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't leave my house. I remember my friend coming over that evening because I was gonna cook a meal that night, a celebratory meal. So she was coming over after an event to celebrate with me, but it was quite the opposite. And but we still celebrated just because God always has a higher plan. And I just remember those 2 weeks, like, not only did I have a failed transfer, but now I got to sit in this by myself without my husband. But God knew what he was doing, because I feel like if my husband was there, it probably would have been all bad, because it'd be blaming him blaming me. I don't know, but I think God knew what he was doing by having us apart, so he can begin his healing process at home with his mom, with our nieces and nephews. And I'm the type, I heal in isolation. So I actually needed to be by myself. During that time of isolation, It took me a couple of days to get out of my mood because I was so mad at God. I was so mad at God because we only paid for 2 cycles. Like this thing is expensive, okay? So we only paid for 2 cycles. So I knew like that was my last chance, right? I was so mad at God. And a few days later, once I got myself together, I was like, all right, God, I asked him one question. What is my purpose? I said, if my purpose is not to be a mother, then what is my purpose? I said, you got it. I completely surrender to all of it. So, whatever you have for me, clearly you have something bigger than motherhood. Because something that we desired so much, you're telling me that I can't have it. So if that's the case, whatever you have for me has to be so big that motherhood is not in my alignment right now. So what is it? What's my purpose, Lord? I'm waiting. I'm waiting. What is it? God said, start writing. Writing. He said, those notes you wrote in January trying to launch your podcast, pull those notes up and start writing. So since I surrendered, that's what I did. And in that, obedience became Journey to Inner Peace and Purpose, a book born in pain, in healing, and surrender. Writing didn't erase my grief, but it helped me process it and it helped heal me. Through that season, I learned that purpose doesn't always look like what we prayed for, but sometimes it looks like what we're called to pour into others. I feel like now that I'm on the other side of it, and it took me a long time to get to this side, I feel like, and the reason why I can speak on this now, one, because I am healed and I have accepted what it is, and I can never question God. God knows all, God knows the future, God knows what He's doing. So who am I to question Him? He is the Almighty, He is the Most High. So I am now able to talk about my journey to help heal the next women or couple that's struggling to conceive, or going through the IVF journey, or just going through losing a child. I can help encourage you and inspire you to know that there is purpose outside of motherhood. There's purpose outside of fatherhood. We are not here just to be parents. And I feel like I did not go, well, now that I feel, God told me, you didn't go through this for nothing. You didn't go through this to keep this story to yourself. And it's crazy because I have friends who do podcasts and, are in the social world. And they told me, like, this is your story. Like, yes, you're doing the book, you're doing the candles, you're doing the things, but this is your story. And you need to speak on it because there's so many people going through the same thing. And I just kept saying, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I couldn't even at one point get through a conversation without breaking down. So now I feel like I'm at a place, I am healed, and I'm actually okay, not birthing a child, because you don't have to birth a child to be a mom. I am that auntie. I have godchildren. Instead of being home caring for one child, I can give my love to so many children. My friends have kids, I have nieces and nephews, I have godchildren, and I can pour my love into all of them, instead of being at home with just mine, stressed out with no sleep. And in that shift, my heart expanded in ways that I never could imagine. I feel that God is using me as a vessel, and I'm okay with that. And I accept that assignment. And I'm grateful, again, now that I'm on the other side of it, that I'm chosen to help the next couple or person going through the same thing. And it's hard because you can't get on social media without somebody being pregnant or on child number two. And I'm at that age where people are having newborns or the kids are graduating from high school. So it's a mixture, but I just feel like lately everybody is pregnant. Like everybody. So and then also because my husband and I, we've been together, this year would be 16 years together. So people are always asking, "Oh, do you have kids?" No, we don't have kids. You don't have children? Y'all been together that long? My husband, he gets asked the question all the time. It's like, well, what you waiting on? Like, you ain't getting no younger and all of this. And I'd be like, one, get out my business. But because I've made peace with the situation, my response is, it's up to God. Because it is up to God. Because I did all I can do. And I got the baby bill to prove it every month as a reminder. So I've done all that I can do, but it is on God. And if it's meant, we'll have children. And if it's not, I'm okay with it because again, I get to pour my love into so many children. You know, my friend, like I live in LA. You know, a lot of us actors out here, people in the industry, you know, we moved away from our families to pursue this dream. So, you know, you develop your family out here, and so I love that I'm the friend that you can call to come help babysit, that you trust me with your children. And I ain't gonna lie, when I be done with these kids, I be like, ooh, chat. I be like, every day it is, I be exhausted. And now my some of my friends, they on baby number 2. I got one friend on baby number 3. So it's like, whew, I done went from babysitting one child to 3. And I be woe out. So I be like, girl, you gotta do this every day. I be like, Sundays too? I say, even God rested on Sundays. They like, no, Shannon, every day. And I'm like, man, y'all can have this. But again, I'm also like in my 40s and it's like, okay, I'm kind of stuck in my ways now versus back when we were trying years ago. But you know, I love that I can just pour into so many children, and it just gives me so much joy when they see me. They be like, auntie, and I love that so much. And even the small things, my niece came to stay with us this summer for a couple of weeks, and we are extremely close. She's 8 years old, and we were just laying in the bed watching TV, and she was just snuggling on me, and she looked at me, and she said, "You could be my mom." And the way that just touched my heart, and I was like, "I am your mom. I am your mom." And so in that moment, it just reminded me I don't have to birth a child to be a mom. And that little girl has no idea what that meant to me and meant for me. So if you are going through this, just know that it will be okay. And just trust that God has a bigger plan for you. Like He knows all. He knows. So you just got to surrender to it. You have to accept it, make your peace with it, and just trust. And it's so hard to do, but once you do it and come out on the other side of it, I I promise you, everything will be okay. So now I feel like my purpose has evolved into helping couples navigate grief, loss, and identity. And I am grateful to be chosen for this divine assignment. All right, y'all, let's get back. Um, I didn't know it was gonna that was gonna happen, but that's life, and it is what it is. So next, let's discuss the role of service in purpose. Purpose often reveals itself through service. Last year, I became a caregiver. I'm a caregiver for two elderly women. And let me tell you the humor in God. God is funny, okay? So my husband and I, we wanted twin boys. Twins run on my side of the family. My great grandmother was girl twins. My mom's first cousin, boy and girl twins. I have a twin brother, and so I wanted twin boys because we don't have twin boys in the family. So instead of giving me twin boys, God gave me two old ladies to take care of. The complete opposite in what I wanted. And I'm like, you funny. You funny. But every day I wake up with purpose. Every day I am fulfilled helping these women during their later years, recognizing divine humor with divine alignment and a divine assignment. These women bring me so much joy, and without a doubt, we were meant to find each other. The first lady that I started with, I promise you, is my grandmother reincarnated. Like the similarities between them two is just like what? My grandmother passed away 3 years prior to me starting with her. And sometimes I just be with her and I'd be like, are you my grandmother? Because what? Like, I, I promise you, God sent her because my grandmother, that was my dog, like favorite grandchild. I mean, that is my rock. I took her death so hard. So to have this lady was nothing but God. And I till this day, I mean, I call her grandma. Like we have gotten so close. Even like she's cool with my husband. My mom asked about her. She met my niece, my sister. Like I be on FaceTime. They be chopping it up. Like we have gotten so close. And even for her, like the things that she was going through in her life, it was God who brought me into her world as well. But it's just crazy. Like when you release things to God, it's just you just gotta watch him do what he do. And so that's with her. The second lady I started with her last year. And earlier that year, the end of January, my aunt, which is my grandmother's sister, passed away. So this lady, I promise you, is my aunt reincarnated. It is crazy how these two deaths took such a toll over me, and God brings me these two women that brings me so much joy and peace and purpose, that that void that I felt from losing them is being filled. I wake up every day knowing that my presence matters to them. Like they need me just as much as I need them. And it is so rewarding being of service. No matter which way you serve, serving is such a rewarding feeling. And I am grateful that God chose me to serve these women. I couldn't be more happier, more at peace. And when you're walking in purpose, you're at peace.
It's crazy because as I reflect on the last 2 years, if we were able to have children, I would not have been available to serve these two women. And it is definitely a divine assignment, that God called me to them and them to me. And I am grateful that I was called to it and to be of service to them, because what they needed, I don't want to say I'm the only one that could have provided it, but the way that my work ethic is set up and what they needed during those times, you have to be a person, one with great work ethic and a person who really truly cares. And that's why when I'm being a caretaker, these recipients, when they get a good provider, they hold on to them because it's hard to find good help. So God is funny, but I wouldn't change it for nothing. I wouldn't change it for absolutely nothing. And I'm grateful for the path that I'm on. Overcoming challenges on the path to purpose. Just because you're walking in purpose doesn't mean fear disappears. When I started my business, Sensual Soothers, and this podcast, Soothing Sessions, fear showed up. I asked myself, what if it flops? What if I fail? What if no one listens? What if no one buys my candles? What if? But I had to remind myself that this wasn't my idea. This is God's idea. And what is God led is God sustained. So you may fail, but you have to learn from failure. It's never a failure, it's a lesson. When I pursued real estate, this was before Sensual Soothers, I pursued real estate and it was a debacle, complete flop. Okay. I lost money, I lost time. But what it did do, it put me in the mindset that I can start a business, that I can be an entrepreneur, that I no longer have to clock in for somebody else and make their business what it is, that I can put all that energy into myself. So the lessons that I learned from the failures of the real estate industry, I knew what to do and what not to do when it came to developing sensual soothers. Those failures taught me lessons that I needed for the future. And those experiences prepared me to build sensual soothers with wisdom, with patience, and with intention. Failure isn't the opposite of purpose. Often it's part of its preparation. Staying committed to your purpose requires faith, especially when things don't work out the way that you hope for. Every detour, delay, or disappointment is all a part of your journey. So keep going, keep striving, and know that God is leading you and guiding you along the way. Stay committed to your path. There's a saying, or something that I love to say, is that God didn't bring me this far to bring me this far. Purpose isn't just about the destination, it's about who you are becoming along that journey. The lesson that I've learned on my path to purpose is that you don't go through trials and tribulations for nothing. It's all a part of your journey. It's all a part of your becoming. If I didn't go through the IVF journey, I never would have written Journey to Inner Peace and Purpose, which led me to this podcast, Soothing Sessions. And now I can do this podcast with intention. There's a lot of podcasts out there. And what is going to separate my podcast from the thousands and thousands of podcasts that's out there? With my podcast, I feel like it is unique. I have purpose behind it. And I think that's the reason why God did not have me start the podcast when I wanted to originally, back in the beginning of last year, or I think the year before at this point, because we're in 2026, can't even keep up with timing. But when I initially wanted to start the podcast, everything under the sun just got in the way. And it was because it wasn't time. It wasn't aligned for me yet to begin it. I had to go through this IVF journey. I had to go through a lot of obstacles and trials and tribulations in life. I had to write this book. So now I have purpose behind this podcast. I'm now intentional behind this podcast, which is why it's Journey to Inner Peace and Purpose. This never would have been written if I did not go through that. So don't rush the process. Everything will align in due time. And when you try to do something before it's time, it's not going to happen. God will find a way to stop it. But when it is time and when the stars align, you're going to know. And when you get that feeling, you execute it because now it's time to take that next step that is ordered by God. Our journey is aligned, and you just have to take the first step, which is surrender. Before we close, I invite you to do something for yourself. Take a moment to reflect and write down one area of your life where you feel misaligned, one fear you've been holding on to, and one small step you can take this week toward what feels purposeful. Ask yourself, what am I becoming in this season? Let's close with our affirmation. I trust God's timing. I honor my journey. I walk boldly in purpose even while the path is unfolding. Let's take one last deep breath in and release. Thank you so much for sharing this space with me today. If this session resonated with your spirit, please subscribe, like, comment, and share it with someone who may be searching for clarity for their own journey, for their walk with purpose. Remember, your purpose doesn't need to look like anyone else's. Trust your journey, trust the quiet pull, trust God's plan, and trust that everything is unfolding exactly how it should. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I'm so grateful to share this space with you. Until next time, we're here to soothe souls one session at a time.